There are a number of recurring themes that I come across when I work with nonprofit organizations and startups, and they all point to a problem around fundraising. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's when I first started working with nonprofit organizations back in the early 90s through to me more recently connecting with them over the last few months. There's a fundamental disconnect between what does it mean to raise money, how do you need to be prepared? And more importantly, what is it that funders are looking for so that you can stand in a better position with regards to them considering you as a worthy candidate to be funded? Before I dive into any of that, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Bybreen and I help baby boomers reinvent themselves psychologically, practically, and technically so they can thrive in their third act of life. And if you're one of my regulars, welcome back. Good to see you here. So fundraising, as the thumbnail says, it's all about the money. Here is the money. But before you can actually get the money, it's more important that you understand the funder's psyche. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's a public sector funder, an individual, an investor, really doesn't matter. But there are some foundational things that they look for when considering giving funding to an organization. So what is it that funders are looking for? I'm going to share a handful of things that I think if you ponder and then answer those questions, it leaves you in a better position for when you are ready to start applying for funding. And then I'm going to share 4 funding resources that are currently available at the moment that you can bid for. But the first part is the most important. So imagine there's a funder, public sector, individual, or corporate sector, doesn't matter. The fundamental question that they are asking as they're reading your application, they want to know this. Does this organization, does this group of people actually understand what it takes operationally and from a project management point of view to run this organization and to deliver on the project proposal? That's a fundamental thing that they want to know. And the reason why they want to know this is because there's a separation of responsibilities. For funders, they are into grant making. They are set up, they are designed to give away money in the public sphere. And obviously, if it's a private sector, similar type of thing. They're there to give money. Whereas when they're looking at you as a proposition, whether you're a nonprofit, for-profit, startup, doesn't matter. They're looking to you for the execution side of the contract. So your role is about service delivery. That is not their role. And that's why it's so important that they can see you are a group of organizations or a group that is running a particular organization, and you actually have the wherewithal to do so. Now, you might be thinking, well, we're a new organization. I've got this idea, I've been nursing it for a number of years. I'm moving into the third act of my life, and I really want to give this a go. I've never done it before. Now, if you're in the nonprofit field, doesn't matter, because what they're looking for is credibility. What is your credibility? How do you establish credibility? One of the ways in which you can establish credibility is by selling the expertise of the board, whether they are your board members, board of directors, trustees, management committee members, doesn't really matter. But if you haven't got a track record behind you, what you're doing is you're selling the expertise, the knowledge, the achievements, the accomplishments of the board. So imagine when this funder is reading it, they're thinking, okay, they're new to this type of delivery, but the people behind it are really skilled. That's going to put you in good stead. Another way that you can justify your position is maybe you've done a pilot, and it could be a micro service that you've put together, but you've already road tested it. And so whatever the outcomes of that would be, that's what you would then pitch to the funder. They would say, okay, well, they've already started to explore this idea. They've road tested it, and here are some results. Good idea. Okay. At least they have some understanding of project management and operations. Then they'll be thinking, okay, where's the evidence? Does this organization understand what it means to have primary information and evidence and secondary information and evidence? Because all of this helps to build your credibility. This is what they're filtering as they're reading your applications. So, what's primary evidence? Primary evidence or information is the evidence that you've gone out and you've gathered because you've networked and you've consulted with your potential users. They've given you feedback, they've given you suggestions to put together the proposal. That's your primary. Secondary information and evidence would really be around, well, what data already exists? What's already out there in the world? So where would you look? You would look, for example, at central government. Here in the UK, there are at least 24 central government departments that is packed. They're all packed with research reports that have been done way back in the day. That's where you would start looking for your secondary data, your secondary information to substantiate what it is that you want to deliver on. They're going to love that. Something else they'll be thinking about is, as they're reading the application, how aware is this organization about the context in which they're operating in? Are there, for example, media headlines that what it is that you want to deliver speaks to and has some longevity? You don't want a fleeting kind of trend, but is there a sort of change that is taking place societally or politically? Has there been a change in government? And as a result of the change in government, there are new laws or policies and legislations that have been passed, or literally because there's a change of political government, they're going to be doing things in a different way. Is your proposal responding to that? That's going to be very attractive to them. And then also, if there's new legislation, are you responding to a change in law? And as a result of it, it can then benefit a cohort of people. They are some of the key factors that funders look for. Also, one other thing they look for is what it is that you're proposing. Is it an alternative to what already exists? Is it something really different that they can get behind? That's going to be very appealing to them. So that's when you're thinking about approaching funding, grant making from the public sector, trust funder. Let's say, for example, you want to explore the corporate sector and you're looking for corporate sector sponsorship or, monies or in-kind support. The thing to do here, which is slightly different from public sector funding, is that you need to be building a relationship way in advance before you actually approach corporates for money. So give yourself this runway of about 12 months to 18 months where you're building actual relationships with decision makers or decision influencers who have relationships with those decision makers. That's how the corporate sector likes to do things. They want to build this relationship so they have an understanding of who you are, you've got an understanding of who they are. Whether you're going for, sponsorship, whether it's in-kind support, or whether it's, they're going to offer you some volunteering time. They want to have this sense of a relationship. Then you must answer the question, what's in it for them? Because what they're looking for as a corporate sponsor is what is going to be the return on investment if they partner with you, if they support you in any particular way. Because what's different with the corporate sector, they have shareholders that they've got to report to. So you as a nonprofit or even as a micro startup, you need to be thinking about, well, what's the benefit to them? Because that's going to be what they lead with. You also want to be thinking of, are there any resources or benefits that you could be bringing to them? For example, letting them know of business grants that are available that could aid them as they're going forward and delivering. And could you be a solution that fulfills something that helps their stakeholders? So, for example, I'm thinking one of my current clients, and she is building a solution around healthy eating. Now, her solution will be a fantastic solution that adds value if she were to go on to seek support from a corporate. So you're applying to them for money, you're building a relationship, you're applying to them for money, but you're also looking at what's the return on investment, what's in it for them, and how could you be an asset to that organization or that company. I just want to read something because when I wrote my book, Nonprofit Booster 10 Steps to Building a Successful Organization, I took my own expertise, but then I went out and I interviewed people who were in the corporate sector and in the nonprofit sector. And I want to share an insight from a corporate in terms of what you should be doing as a nonprofit organization or as a small startup if you're thinking of applying to them for funding. So this quote comes from Tim Carr. He worked for MA at the time. And I just want to read you this short excerpt. What he said was, before approaching a company, do some research to thoroughly understand what it is they do and what their needs are. Companies just don't have the time to explain all of this. Sadly, too often organizations overlook this responsibility. So you've got to demonstrate responsibility, accountability, maturity, understanding of where this corporate is and how you could benefit them. Now, here's a way for you to be thinking about benefits because a number of corporations currently, previously, and no doubt in the future, suffer from poor PR. They've got a really poor PR image. And they're suffering, they're struggling, it's hitting their bottom line, it's affecting shareholders and profits, etc. Now, you as a nonprofit organization or as a startup who's looking to add value, you could be the solution to help them overcome their poor PR because they're looking to get back into positive favor with consumers. So if I was you, I would be looking at industries that are currently struggling. One that springs to mind is the energy industry. We've all experienced or are experiencing this cost of living crisis, which was pushed up, the cost of electricity and gas. And then we've seen these horror headlines coming from British Gas in particular, whereby some of their employees would force pay-as-you-go meters onto vulnerable families. And they had this terrible backlash, rightfully so. So they are struggling with a PR problem. How could your organization, how could your startup, how could your nonprofit organization actually be a solution that aids them to transform their poor public image into a more positive one? So that's what I wanted to share with you in terms of the psyche of what funders are looking for. And it doesn't matter which sector you're coming from, these are some common things that they look for. Now, I want to give you 4 potential sources of funding that you could apply to. So earlier this month, no, last month now, because it was in May, I met with the Heritage Lottery Fund. There was a large group of us, and they were talking about, the sources of funding that are available. And if you're an organization that is seeking to reestablish a historical building or refurbish it or bring in something from the past into the present and also for it to have legacy and longevity, then Heritage Lottery could be a place for you to apply to. Now, they offer grants and they have an open rolling fund, and they fund anywhere from £250,000 through to £5 million. So that's quite a stretch, nice chunk of money. In addition to offering the money, they are also offering one-on-one support. They will send out their grant officers or be online with you and them and talking you through their process. And I can't stress this enough. It doesn't matter who you're going to for money. Please read their documentation. Don't fall foul and apply and you haven't read the documentation. So Heritage Lottery is one that you could go for. Then there's one called Unlimited. Now, if you are a social enterprise and you want to leave a social impact and you've got that entrepreneurial bent, then Unlimited could be somewhere you could apply to. Now, they have 2 parts. They are grants. One's 8,000, and that's if you've got an idea and you definitely want to go into the world of social entrepreneurship. Then there's 8,000, or if you're already in existence and you want to scale, then they have a pot you can bid to for 18,000. Now, along with the finances, you also get a mentor, you get a support manager. as well as access to workshops, etc. So they present that as a package. So if you're a social entrepreneur, that could very much appeal to you. Then there is Innovate UK. Now, with Innovate UK, they are a large funder, and they apply to startups, newbies, as well as if you're a multinational company. Now, they have two pots. One is a grant and one is a loan. So they will grant anywhere from 25,000 through to 10 million. And from a loan point of view, they will loan you 100,000 through to 1 million. Now, Innovate UK, as it says in the name, it's about innovations. So if you are a startup or if you're a nonprofit that's looking at bringing forward some type of innovation and technology that's going to be transformative in some way, then Innovate UK could be a source that you could apply to. And along with the funding, then there's also mentoring and support that they offer. So that's for the visionary who has a large goal, is ambitious, and wants a larger amount of money. Then the final one is around Startup UK. Now, with Startup UK, what they offer is an unsecured personal loan, not a business loan, but a personal loan. And they will loan you anywhere from £500 to £25,000. And it's a government backed loan, and you have between 1 and 5 years to repay the loan at a rate of the fixed interest repayment rate is 6%. So if you are a startup and you've got this great idea and you just need some seed money to kick you off, then Startup UK could be an avenue for you to explore. And as I said at the beginning, doesn't matter who you're going to for money, please, please, please understand the psyche of what it is that they're looking for. There's a whole host of other things that they look for, but the ones I've shared with you today are, a handful that can kickstart your journey to your engagement with funders. And I'd love to know where you are on your fundraising journey. How far into it are you? Are you at the beginning stage? Are you struggling? Have you submitted applications and you're falling foul from the things I've shared today? Maybe you could begin to tweak them, revisit them. If you need more kind of deep consultative work, then reach out to me to see how I could assist you there. Have you been successful in fundraising, and what it is that you did that brought you that level of success? I'd love to hear it. Put your comments in the comment box below, and please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And invite other baby boomers who you feel could benefit from what it is that I share here, whether it's about they want to reinvent themselves psychologically, practically, and technically. Tell them to come here every Sunday, 3:30, where I'll be sharing more insights to uplift their life. So stay well, have a great week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.